Pan-African Congress Movement proudly presents African Liberation Day 2021, taking place on the 30th and the 31st of May between 1 and 10 p.m. BST. This event will be streamed live via YouTube, PACMTV, Facebook Live, PACM_UK. International participants from the US of A, Jamaica, Uganda, South Africa, France, Nigeria, and Gambia. Pan-Africanism, building for the 22nd century. The key focus areas will be the history of the PACM, the COVID-19 pandemic and the associated wider threats to humanity, youth leadership, economics, African spirituality, and reparations, plus a fitting tribute to the life and work of the late President of Tanzania, John Magufuli. Contact PACM on 07510 249 828. Email panafricancongressmovement@gmail.com. African Liberation Day 2021.
In this, so outstanding fighters for our people, the best representatives of ourselves. Let us shout out their names as we pour. So not only do we acknowledge them and their works, but we remind ourselves about who they are also.
Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey. Yeah, Asantewa. John Henry Clark.
Jean-Jacques Dessalines.
Jean-Jacques Dessalines.
Amy Jakes Garvey. Amy Ashwood Garvey.
Amy Ashwood Garvey.
Joseph Benyakelen. John Henry Clark.
Okay, our young sister has... sorry? Our boys.
He's a boy.
I'm sorry. Our young brother.
Yeah.
I do apologize.
Peter Tosh.
Peter.
Hey,
Any other youngsters? Come on. Any of the other youngsters want to say something? Harriet Tubman.
Rosa Parks, she said.
Rosa Parks, another youngster said. Yes. Rosa Parks. And in future we want to see more young people coming out and giving this part of the salute. Now we also, in closing this part of it, want to acknowledge that we have so many outstanding fighters that we really cannot give all of them a call out by name at this moment. So we salute all our outstanding people. Let us make certain also that we remember those ancestors who were lost on the terrible voyage from Africa to these places. We do not know most of their names, but we recognize that their bones roll around on the floor of the Atlantic, and that we belong to them as they belong to us, because we have the same story and we're the same people.
Those incarcerated.
We pour also for another company of our people who are not physically here, but who are spiritually here because they would agree with our ritual today. We speak now about the company of our incarcerated soldiers.
Thank you.
We pour finally for the purpose for which we have gathered here today. We acknowledge, salute, encourage the presence of all the forces we have summoned to strengthen our understanding of ourselves and what we have to do, to clarify our understanding of our task, to encourage us to be better Africans in whatsoever we do and however we do it, to make certain that we stick to the task and that we emerge from our deliberations here today better people and better able to do our duty to ourselves.
Now, we have been studying this map from Tanzania, written by Nabi Kresti first, thank you, sister. And we have this reading, I think, a few weeks ago. And we thought it was appropriate to present this today. Right, let me read again because we are supposed to read male and female. Ramani Hai Takatifu ya Mungu, Mungu's divine living map. And you must note that it doesn't say a book, it says a map. And we're reading from Hazina, which is treasure. And we're reading at 137. Do not go astray, neither should you be two-faced, or should you be a chameleon of faith, or should you have tortoise speed. When you come to me, nor should you come with centipede legs, nor should you come with your earthly wealth, but come as you with your feet and come fast, calls Mungu. Let those who are waiting for an apostle precede those who are waiting for the prophet. Those who have been awaited for have already arrived to me. I have given them new assignments in heaven, and it's a new one. I have put light to you and opened up my illumination to lead. I have given you Romani in your hand, taught you how to use it. I have given you my principles and taught you how to use it, to press its buttons where it is locked, so that the door opens for you to enter inside and that the door locks itself. And the corridors inside me are clear so that you will not be lost. Come by Ramani, where the illumination leads you. Let the stars be in front of you, and you have arrived. Do not continue on, because the route which continues are for your people who have missed and entered with their burdens on their heads, who goes around to the crossroad, but they go back.
What he's doing, we have Solomon from Black Child Promotion, yeah, right? And we have Terry from Manhood Academy. All right. And of course, we have a man who represents you all. And he said he's just Ras AB. And he's going to talk about what he's doing. So, friends, it is your time to hear from some of the people who are on the ground doing the work. Who's going to be the first speaker? All right.
Greetings in the name of the Imperial Majesty and Pride Selassie on the first Rastafari. What we say? Yeah, my name is Andre. Andre Burke, hence the reason why we call myself AB. Earlier this year, January, I had a vision based around the culture of the youth. And we see that this postcode area thing and how it's, you know, creating division amongst our community. That is even, we can see certain areas where it's stemming from, but I won't go into that car. The problem is the problem, but the solution needs more focus than what the problem is. But by the grace of the Most High, I received a vision on how to create a solution, a formula on how to deal with the issue. And when I received it, it's like I've then went to some of the youth then, and I've said to them, yo, I told them the scenario, what I received, and they said, you know what? Okay then, say for example, I seen the Virgin, and something on the Virgin showed me what he's about. And then I know I'm on the same thing he's on, but we don't know each other. But because the Virgin is identified himself, not by his word sound boy, but by a particular sign then, you get me, that is visible to eye man. I would then approach the Virgin and say, yes, my Virgin, you know, say, I'm what you're on, you know, like that. And it's gonna work, innit? 100%. I've went around to some of the influential ex-gang members who have changed their life and doing positive things, and but still have influence in the community. Like the youth them listen to him, and he's able. Just the other day, he told me like certain activities he was able to kind of quench just through his reputation that he used to have. So he's got a respect on the ends. I've only got probably like 30 seconds left, but if anybody is willing and wants to support, because we have to, basically what I've kind of worked out is a pack. Each child, each member of the youth then will receive a pack. The pack to put together costs about £1, you get me? But anybody interested on finding out more information, you'll see me around, and please don't be nervous. I'm very approachable. Just check me. I'll take your details. You can take my details, whatever, and we just make this thing happen. And to be fair, I'm just totally blunt with my people. Like, even if I walk out of here and I don't see nobody approach me and I don't get no help, try, the most I will make a way to make it happen. You see? Like I said, it's a vision, and it must, a prophecy must be fulfilled, like that. So give thanks for the platform. Big up Brother Dini for the platform and the opportunity to speak to my people, right, yeah, so, and big up my brother in them and sister in them, and keep up the good work and live it. Don't just talk about it, live it, innit? Rastafari love, what we say?
Greetings. Before I start, can I just get permission from any elder to speak, please? Give thanks. My name is Suleiman Lee from Black Child Promotions. We've been in existence since 2003, disseminating information across London through educational materials. In 2015, we were suffering persecution from the police because they didn't like what we were doing in certain areas. They didn't like the galvanization of the grassroots in the local communities. So Uncle Pepper Kai, who has a stall in there from the PACM and the Art Centre, I went to him with my problem, and he said basically what we're doing as Black Child Promotions is a positive thing. So he said that he will give us his backing, and we could sell books or distribute books in the community and to our young people, all our community in general, and a percentage will go into building and developing the Art Centre. We also spoke to Uncle Binny, and we're a member of the Marcus Garvey Foundation, which has been in existence for decades. So our main aim is to basically create some intergenerational wealth amongst the community. Black Child Promotions, as an organization, has employed over 10 volunteers. Because one of the main things that we must realize is that we can't just preach to the youth, we have to provide something for the youth. You understand? Because what they're gonna say is, what I'm getting on the streets, I'm making money. So if you can't provide any employment for me, then I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. We have to, even Brother Shakara at one of the AWF African World Federation meetings said that Marcus Garvey employed over 1,000 people in Harlem alone. So if we can't create employment for our young people, then they're going to go to the alternative. You understand? So this is what Black Child Promotion's main aim is, to increase literacy levels and encourage our young people and all ages to read and get to know themselves, because as we know, knowledge of self is where it all starts, and to just basically spread the message and also develop the Art Centre through our activities. Thank you very much.
Greetings everybody. I'm Emmanuel, Black People Giving. Can we just big up Big Souls one more time? Just because I do a lot of my work on the streets of London every day, and nobody is as active as us on the streets as Big Souls. So I just want to big him up because he is doing the most. Before I go on, can I ask permission from my elders to speak? Give thanks, give thanks. And I always like to evoke the spirit of my ancestors whenever I talk in front of my people, because y'all are so beautiful right now. We always talk about Mandela, Madiba, and when he was getting the strength of the people, they used to say, strength is ours, and in, I think it is Musa, used to say, Aman La, which is strength, and the crowd would say, Ewetu. So can we do that a couple of times? If I just say, Aman La, Awetu. Aman La, Awetu. Aman La, Awetu. Give thanks, give thanks. So, just to give you a quick reference of what I do, I run an organisation called Black People Giving, and Black People Giving is an organisation designed to empower our community. And we do that by providing services for members of the community who get involved, and we do charity work for the world around them. So currently, the service that we provide is we do a health service, so you get a natural health pack when you get involved with us. As part of BPG Health, every Tuesday at the Mahat Centre, we do either yoga, guided meditation, fitness or self-defense. And every month we send out more natural health advice. We have BPG Money, through which we do like financial education. We have a member card through which we give various discounts to Black-owned retailers around the city. And you get a book when you get involved as well. We're always trying to provide more and more services for our community. In terms of charity work, the seed of our organisation is an orphanage, actually located in my grandfather's house in Ijebu-Ode, Nigeria. Currently, there's 25 children in the orphanage. Our vision is to help them build up the infrastructure so they can welcome many more children. Since we started, we have a disabled home that we support as well. In Nigeria, we also send some young girls to school. We also have a project in Ghana. Our vision is in the next 2 to 5 years to plant a seed of love in every country in Africa, and then after that 5 years, it's just sustainable development. We also have a Saturday school in Northampton Park, so it's free to all of your children, so anyone else to come through, you are welcome. In terms of the youth, I want us to just start to see it a bit more spiritually, but not spiritually like outside, spiritually like within. Because the hood is an energy, you know, and we talk about the youth, but I've seen big 40-year-old man that's still on this hood thing the same way as the 15-year-old. It's a vibration, it's a lower bass vibration, and you know, you got a man like me trying to talk consciousness to you and trying to talk all this stuff. But when you're in that mindset, you can't really hear it. Even if the hood is in, even if what I'm saying is true, you're not really trying to hear it. So I feel like when we start to look at it like that and look at it for what the beast that it is, we can start to tackle it like that. And for me, what we're creating at BPG is Wayewa. So Wayewa is our love-based civilization. It comes from Wayewa. The word Wayewa comes from Al-Salam, where it means civilization. We've adopted it to mean a love-based civilization. The 3 meanings for Wayewa are love and happiness, peace be upon you, and Pride Land. And before it is a physical place, Wayewa is a vibration. It's an energy. It's an energy that we want to envelop our community in, which is why anytime you come to an event, if you come to yoga, if you come to, we just had our Black Business Banquet on the 31st, we're having our festival on the 29th of March in Dalston. Anybody who's heard about that, you'll feel this energy. You know, it's an energy straight from our ancestors. It's an energy that we as a community believe that we at BPG, we believe that we as a community need to not enlighten, but upgrade our vibration on home, so that we can even touch those youths that we may have never even spoken to. Because the truth is that where I'm from, it's just as likely that you're going to be a bad guy as you're going to be a good guy. And that's not the way that we need to set it. We need to stack those bricks proper for our community, so that that young 11-year-old boy finds it just as easy to build in a community that loves him than to go to a community that later on in the life is going to find out doesn't love him. So what Big Souls was saying is, I think is one of the big keys. You know, economic stability is a priority for us. Let's not be too spiritual in that sense. That's my issue, you know. We have to make this thing look good for our community, and that comes from us just building with each other. Because our community, there's a phrase called, there's the word power. And I'm always trying to talk about power now, and it's like we're afraid of power. We're afraid of exerting power. But the truth is, if I say Aman La, and you say, Aweru. I said Aman La, Aweru. I said the power is here right now. You understand? It vibrates. We have the power right now. The issue is that we're just not facing each other in the right way. So we have to build up these economic institutions together. We build our communities together, through which, you know, the easiest job for a 16-year-old now is going to be, let me go build in my community. At least, you know, I'm not going to have some white man over there disrespecting me the whole time. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I work with young people every day, and I reason with them. I sit down, and we have like half terms coming up, so we're going to have so many of these youths working for us over the next week, and it's like, good thanks. But when I say it's easy to speak to them, it's easy to speak to them. Let's not look at them like they're savages. Let's not look at them like they're evil. They're our children, and more importantly, they're African children. So when their big aunties, big daddies told them to sit down, they're going to sit down, and they do. We just, you know, Sky News say 1, 2 thing, and we're looking at them like say they're going to do something. And the truth is, they're not looking at us to do anything. So, to summarize, black people giving in Wayewa want us as a community to come together, which is why we're so concerned with building institutions. So I want to give thanks for Uncle P, Bro Tarka at the Ma'at Center. They've welcomed us in the last 6 months. We've been there, and now I've got elders in my community that are behind me. Big Souls is supporting me now. I've got Terry at Manhood Academy. Suddenly, we as a community start to look real good. And all we need to do is just continue to do those steps, continue to do the work. And I promise you, it's going to happen sooner than we think. This internet thing, I know a lot of people here say social media, I'm not, you know that, but from my perspective, I'm looking at it and I'm saying this could be our liberator. You know what I mean? We can catch a fire for true. And thank you for your time. Good time.
Greetings, family. How can I say this? My name is Terry Riggs, and I originally come from Black Eyes TV7, but I'm representing Manhood Academy because there's 8 guys that have come together for our youth. Yes. So in that perspective, we've got to kind of understand, who are we? What is our community? Because our community is a family, and at the end of the day, it's the family that needs to come together. It's our responsibility. Because if we don't take the responsibility of our children, how are we going to live into the future? Because they are our legacy. So in that perspective, understanding Manhood Academy, it works on 4 cycles: water, earth, and fire, and whatsoever. So understanding earth, grounding the children, understanding the perspective of it. But what I have contributed to the Manhood Academy into making it even much more bigger is to making it international, because it's not just about one community, it's about the whole of African diaspora. So by putting Manhood Academy in every situation, as I've just got back from New Orleans, we've now created a Manhood Academy in New Orleans. And the closer the venture that we're trying to do is to able to network all these academies amongst themselves in a form of an exchange. because I'm rolling with a woman that they call Queen Diambi, the Queen of Republic of Congo, she has just almost reached out to another king who has given us land. This land is where we're going to do a yearly basis of rites of passage for our children. So, in that perspective, understanding that us men, we need our healing. So for us to do our healing is to do the first rites of passage, which I'm inviting as much men as possible, so that we can able to build this place and able to give something for our youth. Because at the end of the day, our youth is our legacy. So in that perspective, I'm asking everyone to be able to come together as a family, because when we started that family, we understand it came as a form of economics. Yeah, we had someone that was sweeping the house, we had someone that was washing the clothes, we had someone doing the gardening, we had someone doing the shopping, and someone running around like me, following my mother, going picking up the bags. But at the end of the day, we all need to come together as one. As you can see, we've got all the three brothers here. We all unite and we all work together, no matter what we do. So in that perspective, I'm just introducing these guys and seeing the great works that they do, and the great works that I do, and the great works that everyone else does, and we need to put it together to becoming one, not separate. You understand? All the organizations is one family. So for us to be able to move forward and to do the job that we need to do, we need to come together and solve the situation that we have at hand right now, as long as we can. So my name is Terry Riggs. If any information you have, get back to me and we can talk.
Right. So are there any questions for any of the panel members that people have got? Okay. Can you hear me? Greetings, everyone. Yeah, the question is to the panel. Now, I'm seeing all male, right? And I know obviously Manhood Academy is referring to, do you have girls? You do, yeah. Okay, because I run a girls' organisation here in Birmingham. Are you all based in Birmingham, London? Who's Birmingham? You're Birmingham. One person. Okay, right. So, I mean, I'm just saying this because I'm Birmingham based, yeah, West Midlands, and there's a lot of things that's happening down London, down south, I'm sure you agree, and it's not enough in Birmingham as a big organisation such as these to help the youths, as in boys. I actually run an organisation called Teen Girls Networking, right? We've been going actually a year today. It's our anniversary. Happy birthday to me, right? And alongside with what the guys do, right? Some of these girls have been involved in like gangs and stuff like that. So obviously, I've been a lecturer for 25 years and I've come out of that to start my own businesses. And basically what I do tutoring into my organisation, right? I do Black history, obviously. I do a lot of the Black history, in particular female achievers, because obviously it's girls. And what I want to do is to show them about role models, right? Because that's what they need. They need to see about role models, right? We teach them other things like crafts and things like that for them to know that they need to do so that they can have their own crafts. We teach them about diet, nutrition. We teach them about self-love. We actually do meditation, because I love to do meditation myself, right? So we do meditation because it helps the brain, it helps the function, it helps them to actually concentrate better, etc. So so much benefits in meditation. But there's a lot of things that I do. At the moment, it's self-funded by Bank of Me, right? It's my passion, and I wanted to do it, and nothing's going to stop me. So I just pay to do what I need to do. Right, but somebody said to me, why don't you apply for funding? So after a year, I am going to try and apply for funding, so fingers crossed. However, on our website, we have got a donation page, so if anybody wants to give a little pound, anything, every little bit helps, right? Because all these organisations, I need to pick them up, right? but I need you guys to come here. Birmingham, West Midlands, we need you. So many people say to me, how comes you're doing the teen girls with girls, right? What about the boys? I said, well, I'm female. Last time I looked in the mirror, I am female, right? And the boys need men. They need male models, they need men, yeah? So they're saying to me, why don't you have an organ, why don't you bring the boys in and teach them what you're teaching? So I can't do that. Well, I can, but they're not going to relate to me. They need men. So if there's any men in the audience here, in Birmingham, that want to group up with me,
See Virginia,
yeah?
From Birmingham.
I'm based in
We just make the lead. We just make the lead. You see my face. We're gonna come off this stage. We exchange numbers. We just make things happen.
Absolutely.
That's all about action.
So that's what I want to know. Because I'm seeing all the guys, women representatives on the stage. Who's doing work now for our teenagers here, apart from myself? Who's doing work now for the girls? Yeah? That's what I want to know. So if there's anybody out there that is doing it, come and see me. Thank you.
So there is a womanhood academy. Everybody, there is a womanhood academy. They are there for the girls. And just one comment. Obviously, like you said, you're right. It's a very male-dominated panel here, but one thing that I'm so happy to see, because one thing that is inherent in BPG, and the more I go around brothers like this, and a lot of it seems to me that once you reach a certain level of consciousness and you're doing something, you understand that the black woman is first at all times. And so my operation could not work without some amazing women who, as well as support us in what we do, we also have we have something called Wahewa Cares, which is like the first Thursday of every month, where we have like a drop-in session to help women in terms of like social issues, housing issues, and we push the women in our community, in our thing, to kind of run that and spearhead that, because we just men, we can't tell women about what's important to them. So yeah, just from saying that, we put the black woman straight to the forefront at all times, because she's the progenitor of all creation. At least.
Don't forget we're the caretakers.
Yeah.
We do work around a lot of women. As I said, I mentioned one person, as I said to you, Queen Biambi from Congo, but we also work with Queen Afua, and we work with a few other women that we try to create a curriculum for the girls as much as possible. So, because it's a duality, you need the male and female to have success.
I've heard a lot of what's going on, and our children are influenced obviously by family, and they're captive audiences in schools. That's a captive audience, so there's a big influence within the school system. Are any of you guys making any inroads into the school and formal education in terms of like African history? Because there's been things on trying to get communities to get African history onto the national curriculum. Because through African history, that's where we can get the children to understand who they are, what they are, and to move forward. Because everything is about that, identifying as an African. Because I remember being at school as the only black girl in a class out of 3 in a school, and remember that feeling of, who am I? Particularly in biology. If I knew then what I knew now, I would have felt like the queen of the class. So I think if we teach children, and not just talking about black children, I'm talking about children are innocent, they are colourblind. If we teach all of the children, in the history, whether history or biology, who they are and what human beings are and where they come from, then a lot of the work, we wouldn't have to do a lot of this work. So I think, unless you do African history, there is no history. There's no point in having history, PhD, degree, if you don't do African history. So I'm just saying that all the work you're doing up there is very good, but we need to get into the schools, because that's where the captive audience, we're just kind of, I know it's a drip, drip, drip effect. We're doing our little bits, and I think, I really commend all of you, because it's vital, but we need to get together and get onto the school curriculum, because social media and the school are two of the biggest influence for our children.
Yes. We being having outreach on the street, we come into contact with a lot of teachers, and we have been in schools like St. Augustine's Church of England High School, and we did 5 back-to-back lessons for year 11s on African history in general. And what happened is we gave them a 2-page essay on Marcus Garvey with the option to include artwork. And the school came back to us and said they think it was a bit too much for the children. Yeah, they said that it's a bit too much. Even though the children gave us positive feedback and said, you know, even some of the other children that aren't black said, you know, we did the research and we liked it, thank you sir, and everything. And a lot of these teachers that try to get us into the school, especially with the name Black Child Promotions, their answer to us is, why don't you include everybody? So for me personally, there's a lot of organizations, like, we shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. Like, as we see, a cable and revivalist movement for over a decade has had supplementary education for young people. You have the Afrika Bantu School. You have so many different organizations, because one thing that we must learn is we can't rely on their educational system to teach our children. You understand? We can't rely on their educational system to educate our children, because they have their own agendas. You understand? And as the Macpherson report said in 1999, that the police force isn't just racist, it's all of the institutions. It's everything. You understand? So even if we send our children to these schools, we must put things in place and use already existing organizations that I've already mentioned to provide that supplementary education.
What I can say with that, right, is that I'm a historian myself. I do Black History tours. I've got one coming up in August, which I say that we take over August as our Black History Month. Reason being is the kids are on holiday, number one. It's the Reparations March. It has Carnival. It's Marcus Garvey's birthday. So at that time, when the sun is out, is where we all need to come together and take our children to learn the knowledge. So in that perspective, we have to take our children away from that system of history in the schools and teach them ourselves. We're the ones that are supposed to be the teachers of the culture, not the school. Yeah.
Now hold on, can you use the mic?
I'm going to put something to everyone. Greetings everyone and family. I won't say I asked Mandeka to give me permission to talk, because I'm an elder myself, although I don't look it. Thank you. Anyhow, coming back to what you said about the teaching Black history in the school, I'm going to address this lady's question. I disagree totally about approaching the education system to teach our children Black history. We must first acknowledge that the school is our enemy for our children, right? That's the first thing we've got to acknowledge. So they're not going to be interested in any form of teaching our children about Black history, because it's going to empower our children. Now remember, they don't want us empowered, right? That's the first thing. Now, there are organizations like Mandeka's and the other ones that dread nice looking black man up there say, right? What I feel we need is that all of the organizations need to form a troop to go around in August, as the other brother says, to empower the children with our history. Right? We need to form a troop, one from Mandaka, one from that organization, so on and so forth, and hit London, Birmingham, Leicester, all around. Now, how is that going to happen? We then, when that is formulated, we here should put money in for them to tour. Like what you have when you have a tour of musicians going around here, so on, I play here and I do this. That's what I think you need to focus on. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you for going back to the sound about the school, we got the bridging wants to put a sound forward for Uncle in response. Well, I did want to put a sound out forward to Auntie. Enough things is going on. We got a bridging, a Santi. I don't know if you're aware of the youth club and summer schools that he puts forward throughout the summer, chess club and chess academy and all them things there. And Santi is doing major work in the community when it comes to the youth there. Also, my sister, please stand up, Charlie. Yeah? Right now, yeah, we're in the process of setting up our own nursery. Yeah? Proper official nursery that's based around teaching African Caribbean culture for the youth them. I personally don't send my youth to school. I homeschool my youth them. I got a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I homeschool my youth because I already know what time it is in school, and I'll be a hypocrite to send my youth into school knowing what time it is. But I also am aware that yes, I've got certain family support that allow me to do homeschooling, but unfortunately, due to certain isms and schisms, that we're not all available to take advantage of the benefits of homeschooling. Hence the reason why we are setting up our own nursery that creates a home away from home that isn't money orientated, money driven, profit driven. You know, it's service quality driven, quality service driven, in order to bring about a certain irits, so to speak, for the youth then to provide a better community for future generations to come forward. So, Charlie has some sponsorship forms. Aside the item agreed with the word sound I'm putting forward, please, we're trying to raise funds to, because we want to start in September, so we're doing fundraising. Tomorrow we're going to come and give big up the sister who gave the idea to do a raffle. We're going to do a raffle tomorrow, but let's put our money where our mouth is. How about that? You see, and check Charlie, leave your details. We're totally transparent, and it's going to happen. Give thanks for the word, Sam.
I just wanted to say, I didn't add it in the Black History Weekend. I'm not just doing it personally on my own. I'm working with people with Robin Walker, I'm working with Black History Studies, I'm working with Black History Walks, and there's many more organizations that are working together into creating this tour. Because this tour is for 2 days straight. First of all, we're starting off with London. Then we are going to look into the formalities of each county of able to give in the history, because there is events afterwards. So if they can't show you the facts, like going to Marcus Garvey is not going to be in Birmingham. Going to Marcus Garvey's house is going to be in London. So you want to see the evidence visually and then able to teach. Because a child will see that and explain to you that, oh, I've seen this house, so now what is he about? Then we can be able to explore and expand. Because while we're doing this Manhood Academy, we're going to go UK-wide. So they will get the opportunities where we can actually take them out of their comfort zone within Birmingham and bring them to London. Because every time we box our children into one little box, so they don't get to move to the other end or go to the other area. Yes, but it's the same thing. But that's what I said in the beginning. Exchange. We have a student exchange with each other. Not just in the UK, worldwide.
I just want to say, I don't think my sister is fully wrong with what she's saying, because like the tension in the room where we should do a homeschooling thing and what about the schooling thing, like there's the same tension that happened for me. Just to go over like some of the work that we're doing, I think it's both. We need to do both, because the truth is that for me, the real thing that's pushing pushed me, the real thing that's pushed me into the schools over recent months is that, maybe like 6 weeks ago, I accompanied a sister in the community to a disciplinary meeting for one of her sons. And, after being there, realizing like what they're actually doing to these young women in the community now, we're building this kind of structure whereby which us as men in the community can now work to be able to support them. And with the like LGBTQ element, P kind of organizations and all this kind of stuff that they're pushing in over the next few years, like I think it's very important for us to have some kind of semblance of something in the school. So what we're working on is, I'm actually writing a book at the moment with a colleague of mine to do like African kind of old African stories like infused, so that we can kind of be in schools and like every week in some capacity be in a different school explaining some of these stuff to different children. But at the same time, that almost operation that we're doing is predicated on us building a homeschooling structure that should start in September 2020 for like everyone. Because the truth is that if my brother can homeschool, and I'm sure there's other people in here homeschooling, we can be working together to make sure everyone's getting homeschooled, if you know what I mean. And that's where we should be working towards. We should be working towards running all our own schools, especially with the way they have deregulated the academies and all this kind of stuff. There is scope for us to build our own thing. And I want to pick up a point that my sister's saying, because it's relevant to us about, this Birmingham, London, and like everything is surrounded around London. And, I grew up in North West London, and where I grew up, we don't really see outside of the North West. You don't think, I grew up in Edgware, and my dream was to live in Kilburn. That's like, do you know what I mean, 20 minutes down the road. I moved out, and now I'm in Tottenham, Hackney every day, and I realised, like, everything is the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hood is hood. So for me, I'm not married to like London or anything like that. And for us in Wayewa, we've picked a location in the UK, and we're going to take all our operations there. We're still going to be doing everything we're doing in London, but in terms of the teams that we start to create, in terms of the phone people, the people that start to make money within the organisation, all this industry we want to build up in somewhere specific. I'm in a safe place now, so I can tell you it's going to be in Wolverhampton. So before the end of the year, we want to buy houses and property in Wolverhampton. And the whole point is that based on your work from within it, you should be able to now start to get ownership and percentage in these homes. And the way I see it, the reason why I'm trying to highlight that is that we as a community, like you said, we need to have a home. We need to have somewhere we can control, somewhere where we can say, these are the rules, and feds can't come in, and all this kind of stuff. And, I'm not saying everyone's gonna have to move, but spiritually, like economically, we can connect under one banner in the one place. And I think that we should pick a unifying area and a unifying banner so that we can start to do that.
Can you just hold for me, please, while we get a question, because we are running for a little bit time. You get a chance to speak.
I just wanted to add something to that one.
Please.
I don't know who remembers. I know Uncle Bandaka remembers, yeah? And I'm not a fan of politicians. I'm not here backing no politicians. But there was an annual conference that used to happen. Diana used to put on that annual conference on the underachievement of black youth in the schools and stuff. And now, you understand, from she's done that and certain activities that you've done, look how they're attacking her. Look how they're labelling her racist. So she thinks she's racist. What do you think about us and what we push? You understand what I'm saying? So that for me goes back to what he's saying. We need our own. We can't think of integrating fully within their system. We have to create our own, because we're only going to get self-respect when we get our own. You understand? So, and just let me end on a quote. It says, Amos Wilson in his book, The Blueprint for Black Power, says, "We deny the ambiguity of power to our peril. Our refusal to accept his existence doesn't make it suddenly vanish from reality. It's therefore our obligation to understand this thing called power and use it to benefit ourselves."
Hi, greetings. I'm from Wolverhampton, so if you could mention me that. I also homeschool my children too. And I work in the MTV for Saturday School from Wolverhampton. It's been going since 1977, is it? Yeah, so, and sometimes we don't hear about what we're doing down there. And for me, it's me and my children, And I've got 3 young boys, and for me, the school system is not for them. Because I see a lot of things that say now we have to raise our children ourselves. So in Wolverhampton, there's about quite a few of us mothers who homeschool. On a Monday, we have the allotment with Uncle Joshi, where we can go and learn how to do agriculture there. There's yoga on a Friday every 2 weeks. We're doing starting on a Wednesday, but because a lot of us are full-time moms, we have to do everything, we do get tired, and that's the truth. When I go home, my children, from those 2 years old, live at Marcus Garvey. I grew up in a very pro-African environment and community. Like, we all have to have Harambe, and Harambe set a foundation. It's not there now, but it needs to be revamped in a way that it's us, by us, for us, not only locally, it's also community, also universally. We my children, we go in nature and we're around. So this, we pay homage to ourselves every single day. We do it every single day, pour libation. These are basic things that many aren't even doing. Like, not times, like, I teach them about their culture, I teach them about who they are. What's missing is the male balance, because from the mother, we bring the boys and the female. And right about now, the mother is not being appreciated or really being appreciated. With a foundation, we didn't come here the other day, we couldn't get enough time. And today's about liberation. It has to be now, liberating our minds as a people. We can't keep saying the children if you that adults aren't doing the work either.
So next, we have one of the principal speakers for the day, and that's Brother Vasco Stevenson. So Brother Vasco,
owners of the railway. And the reason it was deliberately understated is that had they put out in the public domain the number of people, mainly from the island of Jamaica, who were dying at the canal, they believed that the investors would have pulled their money out and the company would have collapsed. So they deliberately understated the number of people who were dying. And incidentally, records were only kept for whites. No records were kept for blacks. In fact, some of the blacks were only known by their first name. Oh, you're Ben. Yes, you're hired. Come on. Nothing else was needed.
I know.
And so the first labor force for the railway was made up of West Indians, Chinese, Irish, English, Germans, and Indians, none of whom could really take the pressures of this job like the West Indians. And in actual fact, 800 Chinese were brought to the Isthmus, as it was then called. And out of that 800, 600 committed suicide. What happened with, when it got down to 400, 200 of those actually walked out at low tide in the Bay of Panama, walked as far out as they could get and waited for high tide and drowned themselves. The other 200 were then shipped off to Jamaica, and that's the origins of the Chinese community in Jamaica. Okay? The rest is history, yes? Right. The only people who could stand the rigors of this was the Africans. And so, Africans around the world, especially in Jamaica, were made promises. Promises of good wages and promises of a high standard of living. Remember, we are talking here about pre-emancipation, and I use that word loosely, yes? Emancipation, right? Yeah. So 1850, you can understand, yes, slavery is still going on and other aspects of life like that. So if you were earning 10 cents a day and someone offered you 15 cents a day, which are you going to go for? Mm-hmm. Right? So they made some promises and the reality was completely different. This is the reality. Diseases, snakes, accidents, 10 to 14 hours work per day, temperatures of 100 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit, extremely poor accommodation, I'm going to show you that, near slave labor, 10 cents per hour. Okay? Constant rainfall. And the last one, is anyone familiar with Jim Crow? You've heard the name Jim Crow, everyone? All right, well, I'm going to take a minute or so to elaborate on Jim Crow and show you really what it is, or what it was. So it started off as etiquette, social behavior, that's what etiquette is, yeah? We are familiar with this? Colors, no colors, or colors are certainly rare. Yeah. Yeah? No dogs, Negroes or Mexicans. We had a version of it here in the UK as well. Right? And the restrooms were for whites only. And that's Jim Crow etiquette. Here, let me go into detail now about Jim Crow because you must understand this fully. Reckless eyeballing was the offense of a black man looking at a white woman. So if a black woman looked at a white woman, he was recklessly eyeballing her, and that was a crime. Physical abuse, jail, or death. Okay? A white person of any age gets served in the store before any black person, regardless of who was there first. Black people were not allowed to try on shoes or clothes in the department stores. They had to be bought without making sure they fit, and they could not be returned. In the case of interracial collisions, let's say you're walking on the pavement and you bump into someone, okay? Only the black person would be arrested, even if he were not the guilty party. In traffic, blacks who passed whites or even pulled up next to them in traffic could be fined or harassed. And it gets worse. Bumptious contact was refusing to make way for a white person on a sidewalk. Okay? Blacks must never suggest or intimate that a white person was lying. Blacks were not allowed to show affection towards each other in public places because it offended whites. So you could be walking with your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, whoever, you couldn't hold hands, you couldn't put your arm around her because it offended whites. Okay? White motorists had the right of way at all intersections. So you get a green light, yes, you have to give way to someone coming to a red light, that kind of stuff. Blacks were called by their first names but had to address whites as Mr. or Mrs. Blacks could never claim or demonstrate that they had superior knowledge of whites. Okay? And you think that's it? How about this one? A white person could commit a crime and nominate a black person to serve the sentence for him.
The way in which they oriented themselves as for the clarification to this, because they oriented themselves by looking towards inner Africa. So the word for the south is what they call up, because that's high in their estimation, not only in terms of topography, but especially in terms of esteem. Another word for south, this is in the Middle Kingdom, because remember ancient Egypt ran for thousands of years, and the language changed a bit. This is the word for another word for south. And then west means right. So you know where you're looking, or where they're facing. Left is to the east, so you know they're facing what we call south today. Down is to the north, up is to the south. Our people oriented themselves by looking towards the land of their ancestors. They also call that land Pacm. Pacm, which means land of the placenta. Now this announces something that's very important. The ancient Egyptians did something that many of us still do. They did many things that many of us still do. It wasn't only more imagination. But they buried the navel string and the placenta of a baby ritually, as we do. Think about that. And once navel string and placenta and dead bodies are buried in the land, it becomes ancestral land. You have a certain unshakable psychological attachment to that land. You will defend it. We must rediscover that knowledge and that understanding. We could go further. A certain Pepi, who was ruler of ancient Egypt, the king, a small man, a short guy. Europeans call him dwarf, but we won't insult our ancestors with that. He was short. He was being taken to ancient Egypt, Kemet, and the king was excited. Ignorant European scholars say that he was excited because the king was a young man and he would get a small person his size to dance with. That's nonsense. When you read what the king said, he said this guy is important because he knows the authentic dances of the ancestors. He knows that the dances of the ancestors, so they're authentic. He was experiencing a moment when he could get back in touch with the real McCoy, because he didn't know if they had drifted away from the performances of certain important dances. And that tells us a whole lot of things, including how important it is to maintain our traditions, our rituals. I want to look again, in addition, in terms of reconnection, quite quickly at sticks and stains. Now, there are lots of things that we carry on from the time of the ancient Egyptians, and we often don't recognize. One of them is stick fighting. Any carnivalist or anybody who knows about carnival will know that stick fighting is an important part of this. And we have Dr. Claire Holder among us, and she is an organizer, fighter, and expert in this, and I wish to give her a shout out in recognition. You know, when we have significant, important people among us, we must honor and cherish them for the work they do, so that they will be encouraged to carry on, and other people will take pattern from them. So, ancient Egyptians practiced stick fighting, wrestling. They have what you call carnival. Again, we can't go deep into that. But here's one thing I want to demonstrate. Those sticks that they had, the staffs, were symbols of authority. Now, I grew up in a village where many of the older men had special walking stick, and they attached certain kind of thing to the stick. And once you start thinking about it, you realize this is something that's part of the African tradition. So, here is one of the oldest divinities in the world. Asa. Europeans call him Cyrus. That's the Greek word. Greek misname.
I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me once again to speak at this event. And today I've been asked to speak about China's involvement in Africa.
Woo! Holy subject. Holy subject.
My presentation today speaks to conversations which have been prevalent in the media, in the print media, on social media, and often perhaps in our living rooms about China's involvement in Africa and what some people see as the recolonization of the continent. And some of these debates are depicted in some of these cartoons that are up here. They're predominantly from South Africa. And if you can see them, basically, there's a picture, there's one of, Chinese, African, licking the arse of a Chinese man. Sorry. But often in the image, there are, you will see the West in the far cartoon pulling the heels of Sino-African ties, and in this one, a Chinese president pushing the door open and squashing Uncle Sam, who seems to be at the back behind. And that suggests, in some sense, competition in terms of access to the resources of the African continent, competition between the West and between China. And I'm a geographer, and academics like new concepts, right, that we can use to help us understand the world. And a common concept now is neo-extractivism, right? And neo-extractivism explains the process of extracting natural resources from Africa, from places, such as, I was going to say, from, say, Latin America or Africa, to sell on the world market, to the detriment of the people living in those countries. And this process leads to their economic, hinder their economic and social advancement. Now, extractivism, we know, has gone on in Africa from the time people were exported from the continent. Neo-extractivism is considered to be new, a new phase of exploitation and dispossession, which has been taking place now on the continent since, some would argue, since around the mid-90s, from about the 1990s onwards, but more so after the middle of the 2000s, the noughties. Now, whenever the imperialism has surged in Africa, we are very much aware that it has occurred at particular moments of crisis within the global north, within Europe and within the Americas. And some of you will remember that the 19th century, the first what we call scramble for Africa, that's to get direct political control over the territories of the continent, occurred after a Great Depression and financial crisis from about 1873 to 1893. So around that time, 1884 to 1885, we have the Berlin Conference, which I'll show you an image of, and it was at the Berlin Conference where Africa was carved out and Europeans were able to take direct control. Now, the second phase, what we would call the new scramble for Africa, started to take place after 2008. And some of you will be aware that after 2008, in 2008, we had a financial crisis. Some banks in North America collapsed, Lehman Brothers, for example, Merrill Lynch, and others in Britain, for example, were rescued by the government. But this financial crisis led Western capitalists, Western financiers to look for new homes for their capital, right? And then that's when they started to really move into the continent of Africa. I'll just show you, obviously, some depiction of the Berlin Conference, which, I was in Berlin about 2 weeks ago, and the Germans, there's only now been a sort of plaque up to explain to Germans the place where this conference took place. The Germans have been denying their history and its association with Africa, especially genocide, the early part of the 20th century. And we know the period of imperialism in Africa that followed the Berlin Conference is depicted in, has been represented particularly by scholars such as Adam Rothschild, whose book, King Leopold's Ghost, documents the exploitation and murder of about 10 million Africans in the Congo. And many of them were named for the purposes just so that they could, Europe could extract rubber and timber from the Congo. Walter Rodney and others have documented the history of extraction which has taken place in Africa, and it's on equal geographies. And I put this map up because it just shows you the principal areas of European agricultural production for export in Africa. And you can see, just notice where the blacks are. They're predominantly along the coast, because they were generally to facilitate easy exportation. And this really links to what European extraction and the geographies of European extraction.
One more. Our health is in our own hands, just as our liberation is in our own hands. And if we want to wage a successful revolutionary struggle, we first have to change a number of things in our practices. First, our self-image. You're not a human being. You are a divine being. And if you rise to that divinity, you find the answers to your problem. So firstly, you change your mindset, because your thoughts create your reality. The second thing is, you must get your health together. You must get your health together if you want well-being, which is political, social, and economic freedom. And that has to follow a sequence. First, know thyself. Isn't that true? Yeah. First, secondly, become vitalized. Restore your health and your vitality through proper diet, sleep, breathing, and so on. And then create the social situation that we require. I leave you in peace. God bless you.
Pan-African Congress Movement proudly presents African Liberation Day 2021, taking place on the 30th and the 31st of May between 1 and 10 p.m. BST. This event will be streamed live via YouTube, PACMTV, Facebook Live, PACM_UK. International participants from the US of A, Jamaica, Uganda, South Africa, France, Nigeria, and Gambia. Pan-Africanism, building for the 22nd century. The key focus areas will be the history of the PACM, the COVID-19 pandemic and the associated wider threat to humanity, youth leadership, economics, African spirituality, and reparations, plus a fitting tribute to the life and work of the late President of Tanzania, John Magufuli. Contact PACM on 07510 249 828. Email panafricancongressmovement@gmail.com. African Liberation Day 2021.